Good morning, folks. Can you folks hear me, I hope?
Yes.
Great. Well, my name is John DiNapoli. I'm the Municipal and Community Service Manager for Unitil, and we're proud to be the sponsor of the United Way Heat Forum. I believe it's been our 22nd or 23rd year, so thank you all for coming. Corey called me about 6:45 or so. I'm in the car, and all of a sudden I hear this gravelly voice saying, "John, I don't think I'm going to quite make it. I'm not feeling too well. Will you please step in for me?" So Corey sends his regrets. He does appreciate everybody here. My colleagues and other folks are going to be talking about a lot of information that's important to the clients that you serve, as well as assisting Unitil in our capacity as an energy provider. So again, thank you for coming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to, who's up next? I think it's going to be Fuel Assistance. Ed's going to be up. So again, thank you. Judy just wanted me to remind folks that what you're going to see today, don't worry about it. We're going to be presenting it on the United Way website. Give them a couple of days to upload everything. So if you want to take some notes, that's wonderful. But please know that the slide deck is going to be available to you on their website to download or to review and take whatever notes that you wish to do afterwards. So I'm going to turn it over just to be on time. And just before I do that, I do see that the mayor is here, and Mayor Unitil, welcome. Joan is here. Sam Squire is here, Councilor Squire. So thank you. I'm not sure. I don't know that gentleman's name.
Oh, Brandon Robin.
Oh, Brandon, nice to meet you. Welcome. Any other electeds that I may have missed? Going once? Going twice? Sold. I'm going to turn it over to Ed. So again, thank you for being here.
All right, good morning, everyone. I am Edward Campbell. I am the Quality Assurance Coordinator for Mock Fuel Assistance. I'm going to present some information about our program. We're going to go over who is making opportunity count, what is LIHEAP fuel assistance, how the program works, how to qualify for fuel assistance, eligibility information, the income guidelines, and again, how to apply for fuel assistance. Next slide. Who is making opportunity count? Mock. Mock is a designated community action agency of North Central Massachusetts. In 2022, we served over 14,937 people and 9,867 families. Mock aims to alleviate poverty by providing services that empower families to achieve economic security by eliminating barriers and creating opportunities. The core programs for Mock are Meals on Wheels, Child Care and Head Start, Weatherization and Heating System Replacement and Repair, Women's, Infants, and Children, which is WIC, Family Resource Center, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, Youth Program and Summer Camp. The recent expansion programs include the Emergency Assistance Shelter Program, the Counseling Center at Mock, Youth Innovation Center, Family Clinic at Mock, and LIHEAP Fuel Assistance. What is LIHEAP? LIHEAP is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, more commonly known as Fuel Assistance. How the program works: if you qualify, Mock will make payments to the primary heating vendor, such as the oil, propane, kerosene, gas, or electric company, or if heat's included in the rent, direct payment in the form of a check to the client will be made. All income eligible households may receive discounts up to 35% on their gas and or electric utility bills. Mock runs the fuel assistance program for North Central Massachusetts. If you live in a city or a town not served by Mock, please call the Cold Relief Heat Line at that number or visit that website. Mock and other administrating agencies determine household eligibility based on a number of factors, including but not limited to gross household income and the number of household members. To complete your application, you may need some or all of the following material: recent copies of utility to receive the utility discount, current proof of income for all household members, pay stubs, unemployment benefits, Social Security, SSI benefits, pensions, etc., for the 4 weeks before the application date. Basically, any income that's coming into the household would have to be documented. If gas or electric is your primary heat source, we will need full copies of current gas and electric bills or final bills if service has been terminated. The name of your deliverable fuel vendor if your primary heat source oil, propane, or kerosene. Proof of housing costs at current address, rent receipt, lease, or mortgage statement, property tax bill. Birth certificates or other proof of U.S. citizenship or qualified alien status for all household members. Proof of citizenship or qualified alien status for any household member not born in the United States or its territories are required, and we need the current picture ID of the head of household. For the program, basically try to establish the identity, the picture ID, citizenship, the income for the household, and also establishing the housing costs of the household. This is the benefit chart right now. The state is actually meeting this week to increase those benefits. They may look low now, but they do plan on increasing that this week. For a household of 4, that is 87,291 for a household of 4, and for a household of 1, 45,392. Okay. For delivered fuels, the benefit is from 430 to 600, and the utility is from 355 to 500. So, but like I said, the state is meeting this week, so this should they should increase the benefit levels. However, it might not be as big as it was last year. People got up to a benefit up to $2,000. The program is very much dependent on what happens in Washington. We currently do not have a budget, so we'll see what happens in Washington. How to qualify for fuel assistance. We encourage all household members to apply for fuel assistance. Recertification packages for household members who were eligible for previous seasons will be mailed beginning in September and continually through November. First-time applications are taken by appointment only. Appointment may be scheduled by calling us at 978-342-4520, or you can go to toapply.org/massliheb, or visit our local office at 165 Mill Street, Suite B in Leominster. Documents needed to apply: picture ID for head of household, proof of address, birth certificates, or other proof of U.S. citizenship or qualified alien status for all household members. Proof of income for all household members. We look back at 4 weeks from the application date, which is the date you apply. We look at the wages, 4 most recent pay stubs if weekly, 2 pay stubs if biweekly, welfare, Social Security, SSI, VA benefits, workers' compensation, pension, a copy of most recent check stub. Unemployment, we need a claim, copy of a DUA claim record. Alimony or child support, a copy of checks, divorce decree, court rule, or Department of Revenue payment history. We also count bank interest and dividends, which is the 1099, a document that's received at the end of the season. Rental income, we use a 1040 tax return, or we could use a tenant statement. Self-employment, again, a 1040 most recent tax return. The heating bill and name of dealer if oil, kerosene, or propane. Housing cost documents such as a lease if you're renting. Mortgage statement if there's no mortgage on the property. Statement about that. Homeowners insurance, real estate taxes, and water and sewer bill. If the mortgage has the real estate taxes and homeowners insurance escrowed in the mortgage, we would just need the mortgage statement and water and sewer bill. Also other housing costs such as condo fees if that applies to you. Renters receiving a subsidy must bring a copy of the rental subsidy calculation worksheet or a recent letter from the Housing Authority just stating that you're a renter that has subsidized housing. Any questions for me?
I have one, Ed.
Yes.
Someone applies to your program, how quick are you able to get back to them so they know whether or not they meet the qualifications?
Well, it depends on how many applications we receive. We serve last year was about over 8,000 applications, but it usually takes 6 to 8 weeks for them to get a response.
And once approved, is it retroactive that any credit that they have would
Well,
apply back to November 1st?
Well, we pay for usage and the usage on utility bills from November to April. So say Unitil gives us that billing information. So the usage from November to April, make a payment to them up towards their benefit level. I would make a payment directly towards Unitil. Also, if someone is at less than an eighth of a tank or on empty, they can call our office and their application can be expedited. So they get a response within 24 hours. Same is true if they get a shut-off notice from Unitil or National Grid. Yes?
Any satellite offices besides the one on Mill Street in Leominster?
We have various outreach locations. We go to like different senior centers or other agencies. We book intake appointments at. So we could take paperwork there, but we could call our office to get more information. Any other questions? All right, thank you for having me.
Well, I guess I don't have to look at the script because Derek's name is up. So Derek Kimball from Unitil.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. See some familiar faces here. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Good morning. Good, thank you.
I'm Derek Kimball with Unitil. I think this is my 15th one of these events here. I'm happy to be back. Here to talk about Mass Save and the energy efficiency programs that Unitil offers. Mass Save is a collaborative of all the utilities in Massachusetts, including the Cape Light Compact, serving the Cape Cod, to deliver energy efficiency programs through the Commonwealth. There's residential programs, income eligible programs, as well as commercial and industrial programs. Today, I'm going to pretty much focus on residential and income eligible programs. Next slide. Just some statistics for Mass Save, just collectively throughout the state. For every dollar spent on energy efficiency, we receive $4 back in benefits. We've obviously saved a bunch of therms and kilowatt hours for customers across our territory and across the Commonwealth. Next slide. Some more, just touching on what the Mass Save program does. They have a 3-year program budget, and they set goals based on energy savings. They set goals based on greenhouse gas reduction, which is the focus of this plan. And the next plan that actually we're collaborating now as utilities to plan for the next 3 years. So through 2022 to 2024, these are some of the initiatives and goals that we're driving here. Next slide. So for Unitil, in particular, collectively around $16 million in budget for all 3 of those sectors that I touched on. But just looking at residential and income eligible, we have about $10 million just in incentives alone and initiatives throughout the Commonwealth that we offer. So we're reinvesting, we're giving back to the community as we go. Touching on some residential energy efficiency programs. Next slide. It all starts looking at the home energy end use. The consumption, obviously, pie chart here. Heating, air conditioning is the most energy, I guess. That's where you use most of your energy, but we're seeing a lot on the end uses to the right with what we call plug load and different types of appliances too that use energy as well, inefficiently. But it starts with a home energy assessment. This is a no-cost benefit to customers. It's a trained home energy specialist will come to the home, solve problems. They go from basement to attic to look at the energy usage of the customer. And it pretty much provides an action plan for the customer. And the home energy specialist will leave behind a report for a customer to take advantage of any of the incentives that are eligible. Next slide. You can also do an online assessment, masssave.com. You can set up a energy profile and just identify your house if it's a good candidate for a home energy assessment. Next slide. Again, just call 866-527-SAVE, work with a specialist, and we'll come out, we'll do a home energy assessment at no charge. Next slide. Our incentives for weatherization. We can offer 75% of the project cost up to, there's no cap on weatherization. So if you have a $2,000 job, we'll pay $1,800 of that at 90%, depending on your income. We have incentives for clothes washers, refrigerators, weatherization upgrades, and again, just call the 866 number to schedule your audit. We have income eligible programs. We partner with, next slide. We partner with MOC. We partner with we partner with contractors as well. And to qualify, it's based on your gross income. So as Edward mentioned, family of four, $87,000 or less qualifies for 100%. Next slide. We'll go in and do this no-cost energy assessment, 100% covered, install LED lighting, replace appliances, refrigerators, heating and water heating systems, and weatherization as well. Next slide. So again, just call 866-537-SAVE and select option 2. Landlords can apply. We partner with landlords too. Although we found that historically it's been difficult to partner with landlords. A lot of times the landlords don't want us in their property. They think that, you know, we're in there, we're like the code police, which we're not. We're just there to assess the energy needs for the tenants that live there. So if you're not sure if you qualify, again, you can just call us and we'll walk you through it. We have an income eligible income verification tool, and it'll walk you right through the process. In addition, you know, obviously you can work with MOC to find out if you apply, if you qualify. Next slide. Proof of income, same. Edward touched on it. Pay stubs, benefit statements. If you're basically means tested for anything that Edward had mentioned, you would qualify for the program. Next slide. Back to some other residential energy efficiency programs. There's a big focus on pushing heat pumps for electrification purposes. So in order to do that and to have an efficient system, you really need to weatherize the home first. But we do have incentives, next slide, for heat pumps as structured up here. You can just go to masssave.com and you get all this information too, but a customer potentially could be eligible for up to $10,000 of incentives if they go with the high efficiency heat pump. If they're gonna do a partial replacement and upgrade to a heat pump, we'll offer an incentive of $1,250 per ton based on the size of the system. 1 ton is 12,000 BTUs, so basically the size, that would heat and cool 500 to 800 square feet of space. So these are the incentives here. There's an enhanced rebate too if you're income qualified, $16,000 per home. And again, this is if you think about it, if you're heating with oil or propane, it makes much more sense to maybe think about switching over to heat pumps as an option to heat and cool your home. Next slide. There's some requirements. If you're going for the maximum incentive of $10,000, we do require that the customer's heating load, it's based on the size, so we want to make sure that you size the system correctly. And we work with, we have a heat pump installer network of qualified contractors that work with us and work with our customers to make sure that they're sizing their system correctly. And I'll finish this. So again, this is just making sure that the home is weatherized prior to installing of the heat pumps. They must be individually metered. We do an in-home verification to make sure that the system is functioning as it should. And again, we work with these contractors on a daily basis. There's a network of over 1,100 of these qualified contractors statewide that we partner with. Putting a plug out there too on masssave.com for a heating comparison calculator. Sometimes customers don't know exactly which heating option is most cost effective for them. So they can plug in a few pieces of information, square footage, your existing system, fuel type. If you have questions about whether or not I'm going to save money putting in that heat pump, or if maybe upgrading my existing natural gas boiler might make more sense to do that. So we have a heating comparison calculator for customers to do that. Some other prescriptive rebate offerings that we have, as you can see right there, just on different appliances, clothes dryers, $50, leaf blowers, electric leaf blowers and trimmers, $30, and dehumidifiers, air purifiers as well. We're still offering prescriptive rebates for high efficiency heating and water heating equipment. Forced hot water boilers up to $2,750 for a high efficiency forced hot water boiler. Warm air furnaces, thermostats, boilers, combined on-demand water heating and boilers, we have a $1,600 rebate. It's important to note that due to there's a mass statute that's changing in 2024. Beginning actually January 1st, 2025, the utilities will not be allowed to incentivize fossil fuel equipment. And this has to do with the Commonwealth's goals of greenhouse gas reduction. Shop our online marketplace again for high efficiency discounts on high efficiency products. We have a store finder. Discounted pricing is offered there as well. Next slide. We work with builders too. We have programs set up for new construction, working with builders to offer incentives for those projects in which they choose to use an all-electric system. And those are highly efficient. They have the most insulation put into those. We work with HERS raters. Those are the professionals that work with the builders to determine whether a brand new home would qualify for incentives under that program. And they offer technical assistance as well. So essentially, just in summary, the core principles of energy efficiency, what we're trying to do is provide value for our customers, save energy, and it helps the energy system. We're offering incentives backed in the form of training and workforce development, and we're essentially trying to just support the Commonwealth's broader goals of energy, environmental and climate goals as part of the program. So More tips, if you need some energy tips, obviously, just go to unitil.com or masssave.com to get more information. So
Eric,
I'll take questions.
the homeowner has to seek this out, right? The energy audit and what?
Yeah, it's really a simple process, Mayor, Mr. Mayor. It's just a phone call away, or just go to the website. You
How
can.
do you folks market this thing? I mean, how do you?
We rely heavily on, we leverage all the PAs, all the program administrators, all the utilities have what we have a statewide marketing budget that we all contribute to do typical marketing tactics of radio, TV. You'll hear Mass Save on the radio quite a bit. We do bill inserts too for customers as well. Yeah, we do that once a year at least. Although it's a little bit of a challenge as people are transitioning to more electronic billing too. But we do other tactics too, like John and I, we go on FATV quite a bit to promote the programs as well. And, online tactics too. We do quite a bit of that.
Because I think there's a number of people that's not even aware of this.
Mass Save in general?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes there's a confusion there where they hear Mass Save, but they don't think it's the utility. And collectively, we are Mass Save, Unitil included, along with the other utilities too, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, do you have, I know you have grants for alternative heating, like mini splits and rebates?
Yeah, I touched on that a little bit in there in the presentation. If you go to masssave.com, you can see, I think you do /rebates, you can see all the incentives that we have set up on Mass Save. Again, for heat pumps, mini splits, water heating equipment for now.
Just 1 year, that's 2025, this is over?
That's technically when it ends, as far as
Everyone's
incentives.
supposed to go solar? Is that what?
No, that's not the idea, Mr. Mayor, I think. I think that it's fossil fuels.
Yeah.
There's a transition away from fossil fuels, and one of the things that the PAs and the utilities have embraced, I guess, is the fact that we're moving towards the electrification path, which, you can make an argument either way. It might not economically make sense for a customer to go with heat pumps yet, but it's.
This is not a assault.
Yeah, no.
The legislature, I don't know how much thought went into this.
Yeah,
And to make this happen so quickly.
yeah,
And then, it would have been a gradual transition.
yeah.
A year?
Mhm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, we are actually starting, we work with our trade allies, all the people that help us deliver these programs, and we're actually out in front of this with them as of now to basically tell them that this is happening as of now, because to your point, it does take a little while to make that change and transition. But that's.
Disappointing, to say the least. I just don't think that was well thought out. Because we were the first time the legislation.
So you mentioned the incentive for the fuel source for the electrification changes. Does the current incentives, will that be reallocated towards the new system requirements?
Not sure I quite understand. Are you?
So you're currently offering whatever incentive towards a new boiler or
Yes,
heating
yeah.
system. Would that same funding be reallocated
Yes.
towards the newer equipment?
Yes, there'll still be natural gas energy efficiency programs. I can tell you this, that most of the focus will be on weatherization. to get people to weatherize. We have an old housing stock in Massachusetts, in particular in Fitchburg territory. So that's really going to be the focus of the next 3-year plan on the natural gas side, is to get people to weatherize and then maybe set themselves up for a transition to heat pumps maybe down the line as well. So
Thank you.
What's a heat pump cost?
it depends on the size. Yeah, it's we've seen, you know, some projects are to do a whole house, whole home replacement up to 20,000, sometimes higher depending on the housing type. But you know, the incentives 10,000, that brings the cost down. I should have given a plug too to we have we partner with third-party lenders to offer customers 0% loans if they qualify. We essentially, the utilities would buy down the interest of that loan, and then the customer could pay it back. Depending on the lender, they might have up to 7 years to pay that loan back. So
So the winterization program is gonna continue.
yes, yeah, that's essentially, that'll be the primary focus, is to really get houses to weatherize, and yeah, those dollars will be reallocated in that manner. Yeah.
But to get help from Mass Save, it's all income eligible, correct?
The income, if you look at it 2 different ways, we have sort of a market rate residential program over here, and then we have an income eligible program over here, which is based on income. I think it's 60% of state median income or less would qualify you for zero out-of-pocket costs for any weatherization work that's done, or any upgrades that you make to your home if you qualify based on income. So it's essentially the same programs for each sector. However, if you look at income eligible, it's 100% incentives, and market rate, it might be 75% will pay for a weatherization job, or maybe up to 90%. If you're in like what we call a moderate income bracket of 61% of state median income to 80%. So you might be eligible for some enhanced incentives that way as well, so.
You mentioned how landlords are kind of a hard sell compared to single-family homeowners. Is there any potential for increasing the incentives for landlords? Because a lot of the concerns I hear from residents are people that live in multifamily housing, that they pay their own heat and electricity.
Yeah.
And their bills, get to be outrageous, and they just fall behind.
Right.
So what's the incentive for landlords of 3-family and greater to weatherize and, upgrade their heating efficiency?
Yeah, in that case, again, we try to work closely with the landlords and basically offer them what's considered to be a whole house package. So if they have a 4-unit dwelling and 2 of those units have tenants that are on a discount rate, the whole house, the whole dwelling from top to bottom is eligible for the 100% incentives.
So like
in that case.
Are
Yes.
eligible, then the whole
Yes,
house
the whole house is eligible. Yeah. That's the threshold. I wanted to highlight too, I forgot, we have a huge project coming up in 2024 with Fitchburg Housing Authority, Wallace Towers. They're actually going from electric baseboard resistance heat to heat pumps and mini splits in the units. And I think there's 160 units, maybe more, that are all going high efficiency heat pumps. We're going to offer a generous incentive for that project. I believe it's $750,000 for that particular project that we have coming up next year. We're working with the Housing Authority on other projects too. And Mox here too, they help us deliver the programs. I don't know if you wanted to highlight any other projects that we have. We have quite a few.
We have the multifamily that's above 40 units, so there's 5 and above
Yeah.
apartment buildings that would not qualify.
Yeah.
As long as there's tenants eligible.
That's right, yeah. So, yeah, we're doing a lot. We're trying to get the money out the door, so to speak. It's the ratepayers' money that we're offering these programs for. So.
What does a heat pump run off of, electric or gas?
It's electric, yes, it's electricity, yeah.
How often can somebody have an audit done by Mass Save?
Typically, we use like a 2-year threshold for customers. Like if they haven't had an audit in 2 years, we'll be able to see if they've actually done any of the work that was offered for that particular first audit, say. And then they can come back and go through the audit process again. Usually 2 or 3 years is a threshold. It's not a hard, fast rule that we have, but you know, if a customer really wants another audit, we would do the audit. Yeah.
I'm bringing it back to the landlords. Now, you have tenants that qualify for the program, but to do any upgrades, whose income does it go off of? Whose income do they look at for, doing any upgrades or
If the tenant is paying the electric or gas bill, they go off the tenants.
Okay.
They go off the tenant's income, yes.
Another question about the mini split. If you have a mini split put in and Mass Save helps you with it, my understanding of what I've heard is if you also have oil, that they don't want you to use the oil, they want you to mainly use the mini split.
Yes.
Is that true?
That would.
In order for you to pay?
To qualify for the whole home incentive, the maximum $10,000 incentive, it does require the customer to disable the oil system. Yes, that is a requirement.
And saying you wanted to do both, my understanding that you would get a smaller reimbursement?
That's right. That's right. That's where the, and I should have gone over it a little more in detail, is the per ton incentive that we offer. There are controls out there that a customer could have installed in their systems that would allow for, if a temperature dipped below a certain 35 degrees or so, there's an integrated control that would actually kick on that fossil fuel system, if it's an oil system or a gas system, and that'll take the pressure off the heat pump, which, it does lose its efficiency as the temperature drops, and then it would kick on the fossil fuel system at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it also true that you have to have somebody from Mass Save install it?
That's
one of
we call it the HPIN network. It's short, it's another acronym in our world for Heat Pump Installer Network.
Right.
And again, there's over 1,100 installers that partner with us, that we work with. We don't hire them in particular. The customer has the ability to do their shopping, go out and get 3 quotes. If those 3 quotes are all HPIN contractors, they can choose whichever one they want.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, in the sake of time, we'll continue on. Derek, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
And before we jump into Justin, just I think to go with Councilor Squally's question, what's the incentive? I think Derek noted it, that if you have a 4-family, that landlord, and you've got 2, in this case, you got 2 income eligible people, why wouldn't they want to have their whole property weatherized to the capacity? Because when they're out there in the market and they have a vacancy and you're competing against someone else's property that has not been insulated, et cetera, why wouldn't the tenant gravitate to the person that did all those extra benefits? It helps keep the renters in place.
100% reimbursement.
Right, if they have an income, correct, if they're if they're that way. Oh, great.
That's a good incentive.
Great, exactly. Well, next up is Justin. So Justin is from Unitil, and he's going to talk about the arrearage management programs and others. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Stearns, and I'm here from Unitil to talk about, as John mentioned, the discount rates and payment plans. We call it AMP, the arrearage forgiveness program. The first thing is a residential discount rate. So Unitil's discount rate provides eligible customers a 25% discount applied to the total monthly charges billed for gas service and 34.5% discount for electric service, and is available to income eligible residential customers that qualify for any means tested public assistance program, certifying income at 60% of the state median. And some examples of eligible programs are LIHEAP, SNAP or food stamps, Mass Health, SSI, Head Start, emergency aid to the elderly, disabled, and children. The discount rate customers who've had their service terminated for non-payment can have service restored upon receipt of a commitment equaling 25% of the overdue balance from the CAP agencies or the customer. It's easy to enroll. Customers are enrolled in the program in a variety of ways, from a DTA file exchange, fuel assistance enrollments files, online or paper applications and proof of eligibility, and on-demand customers can enroll in the program for a temporary period by informing Unitil that they are receiving a benefit from an eligible assistance program. Customers will have 60 days to provide certifying documentation. Customers that do not certify their eligibility within this period are removed from the program. For the types of payment plans we offer, one type is an installment payment plan. We offer this flexible installment payment plan to assist in them paying their overdue balances. Installment plans require payment of current bill plus a portion of the past due balance each month until the account is current. Budget with arrears payment plans. This is a more levelized payment plan, so it splits. It gives you your average monthly bill, and then it splits your past due balance by 12, and then it adds the two together, and that's what you pay in the 12-month period. You can sign up for this at any time. It's based on usage patterns, so we do recalculate periodically to make sure we're accommodating for changes in usage. Next slide, yeah. The arrears management program. This allows discount rate customers to manage utility bills and eliminate existing arrears. Successful plans contribute to fortifying customers' overall financial stability. So the program requirements, it's got to be active residential service. They got to receive Unitil's discount rate. They got to have an overdue balance of 300 or more, and the overdue balance must be 60 days or more past due. And there's opportunities for re-enrollment on a case-by-case basis. It used to be a once-in-a-lifetime program, but now you can get on it again. And how it works, so we'll forgive the program participants' entire past due balance at the time of enrollment when the customer pays their average bill each month. So the customers contact us to enroll. Customers are referred to our program coordinators, and the coordinator determines the eligibility, calculates payment, forgiveness, credit, and provides written confirmation of the plan and contacts the customers in the event they default on any of the payments. And how is it calculated? So monthly payments are calculated based upon past usage and billing, minus any fuel assistance pledge. Each month upon receipt of payment from the customer, we give adjustments that are not to exceed, the maximum adjustment is $400 per month per service on accounts. And that will give that credit as long as it takes for them to wipe out the entire past due balance. In terms of income eligibility for the discount rate program, it's of the same thing as 60% of the state median. So for one person, it's $45,392 all the way up to 5 person, that's $101,261. And then in terms of making payments, there's a variety of ways that we give customers options to pay their bills. We do automatic direct debit from a bank account. We call it Unipay. We can get check or a credit card online, check or credit card by the phone. They can mail us a check, or they can do an authorized payment vendor such as Western Union. And the Good Neighbor Energy Fund guidelines, this is income from either the prior 12 months or the past 12 months, times, must be within the 60 to 80% of the state median income level as indicated below. So it goes anywhere from $45,000 for one person household, it's $45,000 to $60,000, and then for 4 person, it's 87,295 to 116. That looks like 392. So I think that's everything I had. Does anyone have any questions or? Oh. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Justin. And again, folks, I know this has been pretty quick, so a lot of that information that Justin talked about is on our website, unitil.com. Similar programs, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, National Grid and the other utilities offer, I believe, similar programs. So again, I know our territory is small. National Grid is the abundance of the electric provider in the greater North Central Mass. So again, what you're hearing from incentives, from the energy efficiency side to the arrearage management, et cetera, it's for all the utilities, the PAs, as Derek mentioned on the energy efficiency program. So I'm going to turn over the next portion to Alec O'Mara.
Morning, folks. Before I get into this, I just want to, first of all, thank you all for coming to this particular event, and more importantly, thank you all for being so engaged this morning. I think we had more really good questions for Derek and about the energy efficiency programs that are available than we've had in a number of years, and I think that's really helpful and really important, and it's really why we hold this event in the first place. And actually, a few of those questions tie very closely to this final piece that we wanted to take the time to go over with you folks, because it's part of a very important initiative that's going on throughout the Commonwealth and something that we're trying to make sure as many different individual stakeholders within our region are aware of. And that's what's called the Massachusetts Electric Sector Modernization Plan, which is also called the ESMP, because utility folks really like to abbreviate things into small letter things. What is an electric sector modernization plan? Well, all of the utilities in the state of Massachusetts have been tasked with coming up with a long-term plan that will look to ensure that electric reliability remains in place as we go through the energy transition that we are all focused on. Like we were talking about with the energy efficiency programs, the state has made it a priority to push forward with electrification, to find ways to bring more and more people onto the electric grid for their heating needs and for their transportation needs. And as part of that, there's an expectation that we will see an increase in electric load throughout the region, and utilities have been tasked to plan for that increase in load. So what does that mean? That means that we have to look at what that load may do. We have to get good forecasting information. We have to come up with a plan to see exactly what's going to be needed to go forward with that plan. And then we've been tasked to file a draft of that plan and then talk about that plan. And what I'm doing right now is doing a little bit about talking about what is in that plan and the various steps that are being taken to make sure that that plan makes sense for the entirety of our region. Part of that is stakeholder engagement. We are actively working to make sure that folks are aware that this process is taking place. Not just us, all the utilities in Massachusetts are holding a number of public hearings, workshop sessions. This process is being governed by what's called the Massachusetts Grid Modernization Advisory Council, which, GMAC, because you got to abbreviate everything. And that's a group of about 18 different stakeholders throughout the state of Massachusetts, including the Attorney General's office, including state agencies, advocacy groups, clean energy advocacy groups. They're all working together. Of those 18 steps, I think that the 3 utilities represent 3 of those 18 members of this particular council. This draft plan is filed with that council, and it is a strong guiding force of this council to make sure that we're actively looking to engage as many different groups as we can. So that includes our customers, that includes businesses, that includes contractors, and includes environmental justice communities and environmental justice people, advocacy groups. So in part of that, we're looking to try, as our stakeholder engagement group, you can go to the next slide, please. This map is probably very familiar to a lot of you folks. It is the state parameters that are looking to the various key focus areas as part of reaching out to environmental justice communities, income eligibility, language challenges, all of these things are here. We have 4 towns in our electric service territory. Fitchburg is by far the largest, and a significant part of that community is part of this group. So really, as far as our unique territory is concerned, A lot of our work, by definition, if we're improving our grid, benefits these communities. As part of trying to talk about this and talking about energy issues in general, we've taken some additional steps in terms of translation tools. You will find that as we have these various events, we actually have translation services available. That's something we're implementing more for our larger events that occur. We have actually taken this particular plan and created an information sheet. We've actually distributed that sheet here. You can find a version of that sheet in the primary alternative languages in our region, Spanish and Brazilian dialect Portuguese. You can find versions of those on our website, as well as a full translation of the landing page that we've created to talk about this. The reason I'm sharing this with all of you is one of the key imperative aspects of this electric sector modernization plan is they want to make sure that this plan benefits everybody, and they want to make sure that this plan ensures that energy remains affordable for everybody. So those are key things that we're trying to bring to the table as part of this discussion with our own customers, with this GMAC organization, and within the plan itself. Talking through what we think needs to be in this plan, what we identified as an organization are what we call the building blocks. These are what we believe are the most important key fundamental building blocks of making sure the system is going to work for us now and work for us down the road. Flexibility. We need to make sure that the system is going to work for all the different needs that are out there. If you want to have rooftop solar, we need to make sure you have no problem integrating that. Safety, reliability, resiliency. Those are the core tenets, foundational elements of what an electric grid has to do. Customer service. We need to make sure we have a strong customer service thing, and we need to make sure not just that we have the people in place to offer that, but we have the customer service tools people are expecting. We need to make sure our online system is working properly. Excuse me. Security, specifically cybersecurity. This is a major focal point in terms of maintaining electric system, especially as you integrate the kind of networking tools that are needed to create a modern electric grid. I'm going to get into that a little bit in a couple minutes. Environmentally friendly. We want to make sure that we're reducing emissions. We're aiding in the decarbonization efforts of the region. We want to make sure that we're doing what we need to be doing there. Affordability, of course. All this must be done in a way that ensures that energy remains affordable for all. And we're using the tools and the technologies we have in a smart and efficient way so that we're getting the most out of what we have. So, these are the key things that are proposed within our existing electric sector modernization plan draft, and it's a draft right now. It was filed in September of this year, and the things we want to try and make sure are going to be part of this plan in terms of modernizing the grid. I'm going to touch very quickly on all of these. I'm not an engineer and neither are you, but I want to try and give you an idea as to exactly what these tools are and what we're trying to accomplish with these tools. The key customer-facing projects, and I'm going to walk away. They told me that the microphone's going to work even if I walk away from the podium. So we're going to take a chance on that. Give me a thumbs down and thumbs up. All right, this is working. Can everybody hear me okay, even though I'm away from the microphone? Wonderful. So what we have here is we have two customer-facing projects that are very closely related, which is called Enabling Grid Services and FERC, which is a federal regulatory agency and something that they're looking to do, and electric vehicle charging and make ready. Then we have a number of grid-facing projects, all of which are basically going to be creating a smarter, faster, more reliable grid that's going to allow for a lot of the things that we need to accomplish as part of this transition. I'm going to get into those all very, very quickly as we go through. Could we go to the next slide, please? So these are what would be considered customer-facing projects, projects that will have an immediate and direct impact on our customer base as part of this modernization plan. Enabling grid services is effectively talking about the idea of giving customers the most bang for their buck possible if they're doing something called distributed energy resources, which is generating energy on your own property, which is 99 times out of 100 the idea of creating solar panels on your property and feeding electricity back into the grid. Right now, there are times during the day on the spring or fall timeframe when there isn't a lot of heating needed or not a lot of cooling needing, and you have a bright sunny day. The Unitil system as a whole is actually a net exporter of energy during certain times of day. So we've hit that base threshold with the amount of solar that's on the system where it's actually serving the customer base and in fact exporting energy back out. To go from there to where we want to get to, which is that we're using it more and more and covering more and more of our electric use, even during peak periods, we need to modernize the system in such a way that we're getting every drop of that electricity as we can and using it throughout the system. So, enabling grid services means we're making sure that the customer is able to get those things connected in the most convenient and efficient way possible. We're enabling this service for our customers. We want to make sure that there's good incentives for doing this. We want to make sure that EJ communities have the opportunity to maybe get better incentives if they're installing these types of things. So those are sort of the key aspects as far as those kinds of hookups. FERC Order 2022 is a federal program that's seeking to give customers the opportunity to not just be a net metered customer, but an exporter of energy to sell it on the wholesale market. What that means is that instead of maybe just getting credits, you can then become someone who is selling electricity as part of the overall service in New England, something that may ultimately give the opportunity not just for that customer to get additional incentives, but also lower regional supply rates as a whole, because then that person isn't just getting credits, they're a supplier for the region. That requires a lot of work on our end. We need to make sure that our system's going to be able to manage that, because we're changing from this idea from 10, 15 years ago where electricity is a one-way route from the power plant into neighborhoods, down and down and down, where now electricity is going everywhere, all the time. It's not just two-way, it's multi-way, and it's going all these different ways. That's a fundamental change in the way electric infrastructure has to work, and that's something that we have to build out as part of something like this. Finally, EV charging and make ready, that's something that's already happening right now. We have an approved plan with the Commonwealth to sort of aid in the idea of getting businesses and entities that want to have charging infrastructure in communities and make sure it's available. This is classic chicken and egg situation with electric vehicles. People want an electric vehicle, they don't know where they're going to be able to charge it. People want to create charging stations, there aren't enough electric vehicles yet. So what the EV Make Ready program is it's theoretically incentivizing this idea of creating more charging stations, which will be highly visible, create opportunities, and make it easier for folks to consider an electric vehicle if that's something that they're looking for. Grid-facing projects. This is stuff that's theoretically invisible, but is doing a lot of the legwork that's needed as we see the load increase throughout our region. Advanced distribution management system, distributed energy resource management, that is a lot of words to say really good networking. The idea of having a central hub of your system that's able to real-time look at the amount of electric load that's coming in and going out on the system. Let's say it's a bright sunny day and then all of a sudden a cloud comes by. Oops, okay, that's going to completely change the amount of electricity that's going to be available. How can your grid react to something like that in real time and make sure that energy remains reliable for everyone? You need to have an ADMS. Yes, this has an abbreviation as well. Volt variance optimization. This is the concept. This is one that I find very interesting, but it's a difficult concept to try and get across. It's the idea, if you're, say, brushing your teeth, and you turn on your faucet all the way, you're able to brush your teeth just fine. But maybe if you turn the faucet only partially on, you can still brush your teeth just fine, but you're using less water. Volt variance optimization is that concept, but on a system level, in the idea that one can throttle the voltage on the system and create passive savings for all customers. It's something that all utilities are looking at, but the idea being that on days where there isn't a maximum amount of load, you can effectively lower the voltage and it has no impact whatsoever on the customer at home, but it creates a savings. Even by going through all the things that you're doing, you're able to use fractionally less electricity as you go through that day, just because the system is able to sort of recognize that it is a lower load day and it's a lower voltage is necessary to meet everybody's need. It's a fascinating concept and something that is being worked on by all utilities as part of this process. And finally, automation. This is a safety and reliability idea. If we're creating a smart network here, it's going to create opportunities to have smart systems all over the network, where if, say, this piece goes out, the system will automatically be able to recognize that, reroute it, and keep things going. As we go forward, as we become more reliable on electric infrastructure for things like heat and transportation, we understand that means that you need to have more and more tools in place to help with reliability and resiliency. So that's what we're looking for there. Cybersecurity. If we're putting a bunch of networking stuff on the system, we need to make sure we have excellent cybersecurity. Electric infrastructure is a target for terrorists. We know that. So we do a ton already in terms of cybersecurity. We see that only as something that's going to need to be further emphasized going forward. Targeted reliability and resiliency, that ties to the networking thing that I was talking about before, but this is also the idea of, are there areas on the system that have some inherent challenges? Is there an area where we would like to do more vegetation management, but there might not be interest in that particular neighborhood? Maybe we can put in some what are called spacer cables, or really heavy, thick cables that'll be a little more resilient in this particular system. Are there opportunities like that on the system? That's something that we are always actively looking at, and something we might be able to do more of. Undergrounding, that's another thing that we might be able to look at as part of that. And finally, substations, Lunenburg and South Lunenburg substations. This is tied more directly to the idea that capacity could increase, will increase as we go about all these things. That means we need to have additional tools to be able to manage that. A substation is literally the thing that takes a high level of electricity, lowers it, and gets it across. Of these substations, one of them would be a second entry point into the Fitchburg system. Right now, Unitil's system as a whole has exactly one point that's in and out in terms of all the electricity that comes in and out. If that goes down, and it has happened at times, what that causes is an outage of 100% of the system on Unitil. By having a second substation, a second plug, if you will, connecting to the system, that creates, not only does it create additional capacity, but it also creates redundancy, meaning if one of those two things goes down, we're still able to serve at least a portion of our system from that other substation while we find out what's going on upstream of us on the other one. And then finally, that second substation would be helping on further up. Benefits. What is the benefits of all of this? There's a number of benefits. All of this is outlined in the plan. I am giving you the 10-minute version of what is a 150-page plan, to put it mildly. And I encourage everyone here to go take a look at it. But we have identified as part of that a number of benefits that benefit not just the Fitchburg area, but the Commonwealth as a whole. One of them obviously is going to be reliability and resiliency. In utility speak, reliability and resiliency are two different things. Reliability is the idea of making sure the system remains reliable. If something happens, how quickly are you able to pick that back up and restore power? Resiliency is the idea of what can you do to prevent that power from going out in the first place? How can you harden the system? Extra vegetation management, undergrounding lines, those types of things. What can you do that even if you have a great big storm come through, you can make the system resilient to that kind of work? So we have a number of tools that measure that. The trend has been downward for the past, on this slide, 6 years. It actually goes back much further than that. You could look at it 10 years, 15 years. We have seen a number of steady decreases in terms of the overall impacts on systems in terms of outages because of a lot of the reliability and resiliency work. Vegetation management and what we call the Storm Resiliency Program has been a huge part of that. That's had real benefits for the community. Outside of reliability and resiliency, there are a number of other benefits. Next slide, please. These are outlining some of the various areas that are looked at as part of the plan. The ones I want to highlight on this slide are the idea of job creation. Obviously, a lot of this work is going to create a lot of opportunities in a lot of different industries, not just at Unitil, but contractors, people who are doing this electric work, people who are installing these heat pumps, electric vehicle chargers. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for not just jobs, but good paying jobs as part of this, both locally and through the Commonwealth as a whole. I believe that the estimate right now is that there are 38,000 jobs that will be created as part of this throughout the Commonwealth. So this is not a small opportunity that's going to get created as part of a plan like this. Next slide, please. So there are a number of events that are occurring that are talking about this particular plan. A number of them are being held by the GMAC, the statewide conference, including a couple work sessions that are going to be held in November as part of this. Unitil was allowed to invite what we felt were key stakeholders. There's 30 stakeholders outside of the municipal groups and the advocacy groups and the people that are tied to green energy things. Some of the groups we were able to invite include the United Way. We invited MOC to participate in this. We include the Fitchburg Housing Authority, the local chamber. We feel like we have very good representation of our region that'll be part of these events as they're seeking feedback on what this will mean for our region. We have a virtual event of this but much longer by our Vice President of Engineering. That's happening on Friday of this week. There's a link available on the website landing page that we have created. If you go to unitil.com/ESMP, that website is on the page that I have handed out on all of your tables. If you're interested, if you want to learn more, you can go to that, attend that. And also we have a place for feedback on that page. So if you have any thoughts about any of this, any concerns that come front of mind for you as I go through this, we want to document that feedback. So I strongly encourage you to go to that site, write down your thoughts. We also have an email address I'm going to share up here as well. So there are a number of both Unitil events and regional events talking about this particular project, and Unitil is required to file a revised plan by January of this year that will then go forward and again get started to look at. There are a number of events going on. I did want to highlight on this event, just because it's a completely separate process, but I know it's also gotten a lot of coverage. We have, and I can't stress this enough, completely separate. We have a rate case filing, which feels like it's related, and it is not. We do have that hearing that is occurring on the 9th of next week. That's in person here. That is a separate event. It is talking about a separate topic, but I wanted to highlight it here because I thought it was important to mention, just because I thought it was important to keep those two things separate and explain that they're individual things. Next slide. Again, this is the email address. If you don't want to go to the actual landing page that we have, you can go directly, you can send an email to that address with any thoughts or feedback you have on this. And again, we have the website set up with our landing page. It's in 3 languages. So I know that's a lot. I know that's not necessarily the kind of information you might expect at a hearing like this, but I want to stress how important it is and how it does in fact directly tie to the work that all of you do. This is something that's going to impact our region as a whole. This is a huge topic. It is a huge priority for the Commonwealth. And one of the things they are stressing is to get as many people involved in that process as possible. That's why we wanted to take a little bit of time here today to talk about this with you, make sure you are aware of this project and know how you can participate on it going forward. Do we have any questions on any of that? Yes, ma'am.
The grid modernization project?
Yes.
Will be involved improving substations, adding substations. Will this allow an additional increase of solar opportunities for individual residential customers and commercial customers?
Yes. One of the bubbles that I was going through there is very much the idea of creating more enabling opportunities for things like solar, creating more solar on the system for individual homeowners, both if they want to have a net metering opportunity and in terms of becoming an exporter of energy.
Right, so there are certain sectors of Pittsburgh that are basically shut off for solar because there's no capacity within those localized substations?
Yes, so that's what's there, those are saturated areas. So in those particular areas right now, what that means is there is so much solar within that neighborhood that it's actually already meeting the needs of that particular neighborhood. The solar that exists there is now coming back to a substation and is potentially going to go backwards through that substation. In fact, there are times during the day where our entirety of our system then becomes an exporter of electricity for exactly that reason.
And this project will allow that?
Exactly. The idea of this project is acknowledging that this is where we are. How can we continue to move forward and enable further solar adoption?
And the timeline for that, approximately, you're submitting your final plan at the end of January. What's the timeline for these increases so that people can start putting more solar on their roofs and adding to the system?
Sure. Well, the plan is getting reviewed. Our draft plan goes in January, then that ultimately gets reviewed, it gets approved. It's an ongoing process. I think that that's the most fair thing to say. It's something we're constantly looking at. Ultimately, we work with regulators in terms of what we can and can't do. The idea is, in any of these instances, we need to make sure we're taking the steps to allow things that still allow the system to remain safe and reliable. So, yes, this is the thing that makes that happen, but we need to continue to go through the process. I don't have a specific timeline as to when new things might come in the specific communities that you're talking about.
Like 1 to 5 years?
I mean, this is a 5-year plan.
5-year plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it also, there's a short-term 5-year plan, and then there's a plan that looks all the way out towards 2050. But there's aspects of this that get implemented year 1, year 2, year so on.
And the potential for these public charging opportunities and residential EV charging opportunities, this is also a 5-year plan, but potentially earlier?
The EV Make Ready plan is approved. So that's something that is, in theory, in process right now with developers that may want to take advantage of it. Yes, ma'am.
Solar panels, my question is, would it be something that Unitil will provide or a subcontractor?
Subcontractor. Unitil is what's called a distribution utility. So broadly speaking, we don't generate our own electricity. We do have a single solar array that's in Fitchburg that we were able to build as part of a unique opportunity there. It's a unique site, long story there. But generally speaking, if someone is interested in solar energy, they go to an independent contractor, they work with them. Our role is to work with that contractor, make sure that it's going to work within the system as a whole, and sort of provide that intermediary service.
So if somebody comes to my house and wants to get these solar
Yes.
panels, I should call Unitil?
No, you should work with them directly. They're the person that is going to be able to do a service like that. I think it's important to point out, some of these folks come out and do say that they work with us or are representing us. That is not the case. Unitil does not endorse any one specific solar provider. Our job is to work with all of them. I say, if you're checking to see if it is a accredited business within the state, that would be a question for something like the DPU to make sure that they're working with them. Does that make sense? Great. Any other questions? Yes?
Has National Grid done the same thing and those meetings that you spoke of, would they include National Grid and Unitil and other?
Yes. If you go to our website, the short answer is yes, National Grid is doing the same thing. And yes, National Grid is holding its own meetings. There are Unitil-specific meetings that if you go to our site, you'll see this event on Friday, a virtual meeting, is a Unitil-specific event. There are also statewide events. The event that I said that we've invited the United Way to and MOC, that's going to be an event that includes all the utilities in the state presenting. So there's a statewide process that's occurring and a statewide approval process. And then there's a process that Unitil specifically is managing for our service territory region. And I'm sure Grid is doing the same for its own region. I bet you can find some online resources about that.
I mean, that's huge compared to you.
Exactly. And that's one of the interesting things about this process for us. We're a much smaller utility. We have a very specific footprint within the state. So our focus as part of this is acknowledging that we have a unique footprint, and we really need to make sure that the programs that we're implementing make sense for our unique footprint within the state. Yes?
If somebody puts solar on your home and they install a new heat pump, will that solar be electricity for them so that they don't have to get any distributed from Unitil?
So, let me take that in pieces. Heat pump is an electric heating tool. So if you have solar energy on your home, it would likely be able to run off of that heat pump. However, whether or not the solar panels you have on your home are generating enough electricity that you can run your entire home as well as a heating service, that would be a question that would be between the designer of that solar panel and whatever the energy needs are within that home. It may be sufficient, it may be not. One thing that's very important to keep in mind in terms of heating needs is, by and large, and this is something I think a lot of folks aren't aware of, when you look at the energy usage of a specific home, electric usage right now is really only about 1/3 of that annual usage, which means that 2/3 of that annual usage involve the heating that you need within that. That's specific to New England. The national average is much different. So your heating needs are a much larger part of your overall energy usage than just the things that you're technically powering with electricity right now. So when looking at that transition, it's very important to keep that in mind, that going to an electric heating source is going to have a significant impact on your overall electric usage, even if your total energy usage within the home remains the same. Now, I say that it's about 1/3, that's looking annually. It's actually even a larger percentage in the wintertime because you're using all that energy during a very specific part of the year. And that says nothing about transportation. So if you have an electric vehicle, that also is going to have an impact. And that's why utilities are looking at this so carefully, and we've been directed by the state to look carefully at that, because as we go through this transition, it's going to put an added impact on the electric system. Any other questions? Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. On behalf of the United Way and Unitil, especially for Corey, who couldn't be here today, Judy's been over there doing the slide deck, so Thank you. We appreciate your time and attention to these important matters. Again, the United Way will post the slide deck in a couple of days. If you have any questions, send them to Judy in the United Way. If there's anything specific to us, I'm sure they'll forward it to us. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
I just have one other comment. We'll be sending out an evaluation form as well. We did that last year, so we'll send out another evaluation form. That'll probably be in the next couple of days to anyone that have their email.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again.